everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. I trust that you are navigating through this journey of your own, and really growing exponentially. This is the time or the level of really seeing things happening in your life. There's no time to wait. There's no time to procrastinate. There's no time to hesitate or wait for things to be perfect. It is time that we become cognizant of where we are, who we are, and what we're all about, and really start enjoying the essence of our being, the essence of our lives. We talked a lot on this show about your birthright. And once you come to understand that just basic things, abundance, peace, joy, contentment, happiness, prosperity, all of those things are your birthright. And once you understand that, then you start taking things for granted and try to figure out how do you navigate through life with this understanding, and really magnetize. In other words, draw the thing or allow those things that's your birthright to emanate from you. It's just like your breathing. That comes from inside out, right? Yeah, you breathe in oxygen, but breathing is not something that you're conscious of. You just breathe. Your heartbeat is not something that you are conscious of. It just beats. And why? Because that is the way it's designed. Well, the things that you are entitled to should happen on autopilot. But you see, if you don't know it, and sometimes we know the information, but we don't apply it. If you don't know it, then you're not going to be conscious of it. And that's why we talk a lot about conscious awareness. You have to be consciously aware. The thing is this, and what I am learning, what I'm figuring out with, the people that I talk to, is that when I talk about limiting beliefs, that's not just a phrase. That's not just a word, a cliche that we just put out there. Limiting beliefs is thoughts that you entertain in your mind. And sometimes these could be inherited thoughts, inherited beliefs, inherited patterns, habits, behaviors, actions, things that you learn from birth, from a little kid, and you carry it with you. And sometimes we don't even understand that it influences, those little things influence our lives. That's why you've heard of people talk about doing the shadow work, and that's really discovering those beliefs, those things that have been, transcended down to you without even realizing. Just imagine you growing up, you're age 7, and you want this toy, and then your parents said to you, what do you think? Money grows on tree? Money doesn't grow on tree. No, we cannot afford it. And that stays imprinted in your mind. And it resides there because your subconscious mind just takes information. And the next time you're out, you may hesitate to ask mom or dad to buy you that toy because you were told that money doesn't grow on tree. If you grew up hearing your parents argue about bills and money and so forth, in your mind, what is imprinted is scarcity. So you may approach life with that mindset of scarcity. We can't afford this. It's too expensive. No, we have one already. Let's wear it out, or whatever it is. And those things sometimes keeps us back, hindered in our progress or the desire to move forward. And I'm telling you, it's whether you think of it or not, but you are created to live in abundance. And you have got to know that. You have got to know that. You have got to admit it. You have got to accept it, acknowledge it, recognize it, that that is your birthright. Do you realize that this whole world, the earth, has enough resources for every single person to live in abundance? Now, we may look around and think that it's not distributed equally, but it's not, those that have achieved a certain level of abundance, talk to people of that caliber financially, and you'll see what, or you'll hear what they have to say. Some people just take it for granted. Some people get there before you may get there. Some people, we're all at different levels. But until you come into that understanding, until you come into that realization, until you come into that truth and choose to walk in that truth unapologetically, unabashedly, not giving any kind of excuse. I listen to people talk, and you have to really be mindful of your words, because your subconscious mind doesn't know reality from things you imagine. So whatever you imagine in your mind, if you are, you pause and you look at something, and in your mind you tell your mind that you cannot afford it, that's the information it's going to record in your mind. And in most cases, what happens is that once you reach to that point, when you want something and you tell your mind you cannot afford it, that's something that stays there. You will have to rewire, reprogram your mind to know that, of course, you can afford it. The way I think, let's say me personally, I always say that I am the source of abundance. So whatever it is, I am the source of peace. I am the source of abundance. I am the source of my prosperity. I am the source of my joy. I am the source of my peace. I am the source of my contentment. I am the source of prosperity. It's too late to tell me that I'm not, because when I think of things, or relationships, situations, circumstances, whatever, I don't see it coming to me from external sources. I always view it as me being the source. Now, I know that is a tall order, tall drink for some people to accept, but it is the truth. You are the source of your abundance. Once that truth is sealed in your mind, you will start living differently. You will start moving differently. You will start thinking differently. You will start speaking differently. You will create a framework for your life that will, once you create that framework, it's gonna move you in a different direction. It's gonna move patterns, habits, relationships out of your life. Why? Because they may be a disruptor. And again, that's not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It's just that it will be a disruptor. Relationships that you may have been engaged in, good relationships, people you love. Some may even be family members, family, friends, acquaintances, colleagues, work, fellow student, whatever it is. Those people may be removed from your circle, or you may be stepping away, not even knowing it. Why? Because of your interests. Once you understand that, and what's going to happen is that you're going to be moved either to navigate this path for a while, a short season on your own, or you will be connected with people of like mind, so that when you come together, you are on the same frequency and you can have the same conversation. Because it's important to know that if you're not on the same frequency, you can be people that don't think like you do, can take you out of alignment if you're not aware. Because most people operate in fear, in guilt, and in lack. That's base. That's normal. Why? Because we were not trained that way. We were not taught that way. That's why school today doesn't even make a lot of sense, the curriculum in schools today, because they're not teaching. Things have changed. We're in the 21st century and this is 2025, and kids are not being taught in a new way how to think. They're still being told what to think. And that has served you zero. It hasn't served you any good at all. Otherwise, we would be living a life of energetic sovereignty, and in abundance and prosperity, which is something that we all want. And when I talk about abundance and prosperity, some people, that is such a big order for some people. It's hard to even imagine. And then some people even minimize it and say, well, I don't really need to be that rich, and they put a lot of adjectives and they just water it down. And your subconscious, when it's conflicted with information, it's going to go to the lowest denomination, because you keep repeating it. I just need enough to be able to pay my bills and to send my kids to school and to buy them clothes and so forth. And so that's the level that you're going to be on. And if that's what you desire, that's okay. But most of us, we want more. And we are unapologetic about it. Think about it. If it's between, let's just have this conversation, just you and I. And if you were to be given whatever amount of money that you would want to do the things you want, surely you would not refuse it. Why? Because deep down on the inside, again, it is your birthright. You have the right to abundance. You have the right to peace. You have the right to prosperity. You have the right to be happy. You have the right to be content. You have the right to live in freedom. You have the right to have peace of mind. It is your birthright. And you are the only one that can flip that switch on. It comes by knowledge, information. And then you process the information, it becomes understanding. And the understanding is about you, yourself. And you start assessing your belief system, because some of these belief patterns are inherited. You can't even figure it out, because but you could be the one that break that chain, that tradition, that thought process, so that your kids will grow up knowing that they are entitled to that. But the thing is, once you understand that it emanates from within, abundance flow. You is like I say, I am the source of abundance. You know, um, I've heard this kind of information many times, but now it's mine. Now it's the time that I have really uh, processed it and assessed all that information, and now I own it. I've always really owned it because, in my life, I always think, I mentioned before in many of my on many of my shows how my dad, when I was younger, said, you deserve a good life, you deserve the best, and so forth. And that's, I've kept that. That's stayed with me for all my life. So I always go through life thinking that I deserve the best. I deserve best relationships, best partner, best job, best of everything. But I'm at a point now, we've gone through this whole journey of self-discovery, and I'm at a point now where I am wanting more. And that's how you know that you are growing, when you start to want more, because that's what life would have, that you desire more. And you can't be afraid, you can't be ashamed, you can't be, worry of what anyone would think. No, this is between you and me. We can talk about this. The act of wanting more, and don't hold back. If you know that that you are the source of your own abundance, it is your job to figure it out. How do you access that? How do you have to uh, prepare your mind to access that? My thoughts, the more I think about this and neuroscience and how your subconscious mind works and how it takes the information, and it doesn't really know if it's imaginary or real. And whatever it is, you will act accordingly. And your subconscious mind brings in, because wherever you're at in life, or a result of your thoughts. The thoughts that you have engaged in, the thoughts that you have settled in your mind, that is what set up around you. That's what's really shaped your life. And that is the truth. So if you can fix your mind to think with limitations, or to think negative, or to think wrong or bad, and wrong of course is subjective, but bad, or be afraid that this may happen or that may happen, or that you may not have enough, and so forth. If you can fix your mind to think that way, you can also fix your mind for the things that you really desire. The thing is that you can't be ashamed, you can't be afraid, you can't be worried about what others may think about you wanting more. That's a taboo. You know that, right? When people hear you talk about things like that, people think you're greedy. They think you are ruthless and that you are too ambitious. But that's not your problem. You don't have to share. You don't have to share the things, but you just have to watch how you talk, the words you use, how you speak, and who you share it with. Sometimes you don't need to share any of this with anyone unless you know that person has the same mindset, because you know what they're going to say to you? Well, who do you think you are? And if you know who you are, they may not understand who you are. It's not for them to know who you are. That's irrelevant, because they're going to have an opinion of you anyway. What's important is that you know who you are. And if you are a single person, male or female, that's another thing also. There's so many people that are walking around saying, oh, life is great, and, I'm enjoying my single life. And that may be true. But if you are a single person desiring to have a mate, to have a partner, then you need to be truthful with yourself. But when I talk about shadow work and belief, inherited belief and things like that, let's say that's your desire. And it's a noble desire. I mean, because it's fun to have a partner and to be able to go out and do things and get to know someone and really enjoy life and time together and things of that nature. But then on the inside, you're afraid. And you set up all these guidelines. They must be this way. They must be that way. They must be earning this much. They must know this. They must do this. They must do that. They must come from this kind of environment, from this family. They must speak this way. They must be spiritually grounded. They must be this. And you have all these things, and people are walking by your life day in and day out, and you have all these guidelines, all these perimeters set up, and they just walk past your life when you could have had a good situation going. And sometimes it's fear. Like I had someone said to me, no, I don't want to meet someone online. And there's so many relationships that I know of, people that have met online and are having wonderful relationships. But they said, no, I don't want to meet someone online because, I don't want to wake up chopped up in pieces or something like that. Think that mindset is a rotten mindset. It's not one of being cautious. What would you think that of you? Because it's you sending out those signals. It is you sending out those signals of fear that if you meet someone online, that person may be a serial, creep or something like that. That's thinking. That's not the way to think. You want to think that you are worthy of love and respect and appreciation. You are worthy to be adored. And the person that meets you, the person that comes, that gets to know you and spend time with you, they're going to want to come back for more. Why? Because they're going to enjoy your time, enjoy your conversation, enjoy your presence, enjoy your essence, enjoy everything about you. Why? Because you are that person. You are that person. Why would you think that you were a person that someone would want to harm? But you see, those are the information that we program in our subconscious mind. When you go to sleep at night and your conscious mind is, sleeping, your subconscious mind is operating on the disk that you have programmed throughout the day, and the thoughts, the belief that you have. And it's whatever you are now, wherever you are now, that's it. That's it. Whatever state you are in now is what you have programmed through your subconscious mind. Seriously. So why would you think that you are one of those people that someone would want to harm or lie to, cheat, mislead? Why would you think you are worthy of that? Instead of thinking you are worthy of love, of appreciation, of affection, of support, provision, taken care of. You are worthy of those qualities. Why? Because that is what you program in your subconscious mind. So you attract that. You get rid of the belief that are limited. Limiting belief comes to us through, as I said, sometimes it's inherited. That's the grandparents were always pinching pennies, and then that's what your parents learned, to pinch pennies, and then that's what you learn, to pinch pennies and always think you cannot afford it, or something is too expensive, or no, you can't do this, you can't do that. Why? Because it's too much money. When I want to do something, when I desire something, whether it's a trip or a new car or a cruise, anything that when I desire something, you know what I start out with? I start out thinking or knowing, and then as a result, obviously, I think that it's going to come from the inside. It's going to flow from me out, not in. And I begin to create what type of situation, what it is that I want, what type of, uh, trip, cruise, vacation, whatever car, I start to create it. I don't think in terms of can I afford it or where's the money going to come from? No, because in my mind, money flows. I don't leave it stagnant. As a matter of fact, I decided the other day, I said, you know what? I'm going to just redo my wardrobe. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get, and I'm going to just buy what I want. And in my mind, I just set that up that way. And I did. My husband and I, we went out and he thinks he's my, my, the expert in helping me select and things like that. And I did. I went out and I bought and, spent a lot of money. And then got a call yesterday. And that money has flowed right back more than I spent. It just flowed right back. Monies that I was not expecting. It just didn't, I wasn't even thinking in terms of that. All I'm thinking is that money flows, and that's why I don't hang on to money. Like, no, I've got to hang on to this. I've got to save this for this. Of course, you're wise and you put away some things, but I flow. As a matter of fact, I was sharing with my husband, for some of you that have watched my show, this thing with tipping, this whole, I call it tipping fatigue, because now everybody wants a tip and whatever. And I used to have an issue with that. Well, the issue, it wasn't in tipping, because if I get good service, that is something that I delight in doing. What I don't like is that you hand me my bill back, when we eat and you hand us the bill and you determine 18% tip. I don't like that. I don't like you telling me how much I have to tip. That just I don't like that. So the other day I said to my husband, well, I went out not too long ago and, with a friend, and I arrived at the restaurant first, and I sat there. And so this guy, the server, came up, and he, I didn't like the energy. I didn't like his energy. It didn't flow well. And so he asked if I wanted to start with a drink or something. And I said, no, I'm going to wait until my friend arrived, and then we will order. And so I said, but a glass of water will work in the meantime. So he brings a glass of water, and he left. And I called my husband and I said, you know what? I said, his name was Christian. And I said, nah. And, I called him at the office, and I said, here I am at the restaurant. I said, but this guy, the first impression is not going to work. I said, I don't think he's going to get, any, we call it the unexpected delight. That's what we call when we tip someone. We said, we're going to give them the unexpected delight. That's how my husband and I, we kind of named that whole tipping experience. And I said, this guy is not going to get any kind of unexpected delight from me, because I wasn't feeling it. So, my friend arrived, and we proceeded to order the thing. And when he came back, he was friendly, he was nice, he was pleasant. And, as the evening went on, as the time went on, he was just very pleasant. He was attentive. He came back, and, I wanted a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, and do you want a 6 ounce or 9 ounces? And he was cool. His whole attitude changed, and regardless. So in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, you're good, Christian. And so by the time we were finished, our wrapping up our visit, and he came back, and we of course said separate checks and so forth. And by then, he had really touched that button of pleasure in me to give him the unexpected delight. And it really became a pleasure. I'm telling you, it is when you can do that, because the way I see it, just the fact that I'm able to do that alone to me is just, it's just a great feeling. That's how I think. It's a great feeling. Just the fact to know that I am able to do that. So my gratitude is to my present situation, knowing that I am able to give him an unexpected delight in way of a tip, an unexpected tip. And I did. And he was, when because I pay cash, that just kind of works for me. And so he asked me if I needed change because he saw some big bills, and I said, no, I'm good. He says thank you. And he was like, you could see his face lit up. He was happy, and I was happy that I was able to do that. So when you talk about money and so forth, it flows, and if you don't hang on to it, like I need this. This is mine. I want to hang on to it. In your mind, what you're saying is that it won't flow or multiply. Money is just paper. It's just an instrument. Money is a tool. It's the energy, the exchange of energy, my friend. It's not the paper. We assign value to each paper, whether it's a 20, a 50, $100 bill. We assign value, but it's just paper. The whole idea with your life is what you have to expend is energy. Money is energy. So when I plan things, I don't plan in terms of how much is it going to cost and how much is this, and then trying to cut corners and shrink and buy something that's less expensive, or like, no. I go for quality for the things I want. If it's something that you want, and when I talk about programming your mind, my friend, that's what I mean. It's program your mind based on your true desires. Because when you hesitate and procrastinate, that translates into fear. Because why? Because if you desire something and I give you the money for it, you would just execute. You will execute immediately. But if you're thinking in terms of you have to provide, you're going to be thinking, where am I going to get it from? How am I going to provide? I'm going to have to work double time and triple time and overtime and so forth in order to get that. That's not how it works. Think of it in terms of energy. Energy. I shared a couple weeks ago how my husband and I, we went to buy new floors and we had a certain amount of in our a mindset of, okay, this is gonna cost us quite a bit of money. That we knew, but we always have an open mind. So we went to the store and we chose a beautiful tile, and we said, we no longer want this type, wood, whatever we want, porcelain tile and so forth. And so we get to the store, and we chose the tile. We chose what we wanted. And when she went to do all the numbers in the computer, she said, and so we said we want a turnkey job. We want, installation. We want everything. We want them to come in, replace it, do everything, clean up, do the baseboard, do all of that. That's what we were prepared to do. And so in asking us questions, she said, she asked, what kind of floors do you have now? And we said, well, they're wooden floors, but we don't want that anymore. And then I said, well, we bought it here. As a matter of fact, not too long ago. And she said, when? I said, I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that. And she said, well, if you bought it here and it's 5 years ago, then that should be under warranty. And we were like, oh, it didn't occur to us. We went prepared to buy new floors. And she looked it up, and there it was in the system. Now, mind you, 5 years had already expired. Now, a set of floors should last you more than 5 years. So in our mind, we got defective panels, whatever. Anyway, because you can't be replacing your floors every 5 years. And the tiles we had before lasted us many years. So she said, no, this should be under warranty. Now, it was already past 5 years. So we go to and she sent us to the customer service, flooring warranty department and so forth. And we gave her the information. I guess you call that filing a claim. And she took all the information. Now, it's outside of 5 years. The warranty ended at 5 years for the material, the floor. And the installation, that was only like a 2-year warranty, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so when she calls me, she takes all the information and she calls me back during the week and she said, well, it seems like the vendor of the floors didn't want to do a warranty because it was outside of the 5 years, and they just went back and forth. And by then I just knew, like, I had a little bit of leverage because the salesperson told us that, you may get a little pushback, but floors should not be 5 years. And, so we had some information that we could work with. So I insisted, and she went back, and then the vendor said that they would honor it. They would honor it, even though it was some months outside. It was going into 6 years. January would have been 6 years. And, it ended 5 years. So she said, okay, they're going to honor it. And, but you're going to have to select material from the same vendor. And they are huge. They have everything. And even the porcelain tile that we chose, because we said to the salesperson, we said, we want the best tile, something that's going to last, something that's beautiful and all that. And she said, well, if you get something that's porcelain tile, that will work. So we got that. We selected one. And then it, of course, it went back to the, I guess you call her an adjuster. They're not insurance adjusted. She's just the claims department for flooring. And so they're giving me some pushback. Why? Because they're saying that which we chose was like twice the value of what we had. And but she didn't give me any kind of a figure to go by and so forth. And I just thought, we're going to just choose what we want. And again, that's why I hate to pin things down with money, because you can kind of rob yourself from things. Anyway, the point is, and then she's saying, and then we can't cover the installation because that expired 2 years after the initial installation. I said, well, if you can't do this, then I'm going to have to escalate it. And I did. I escalated it. And, come to find out that things turned out in our favor. The floor we want, installation included, and things turned out in our favor. But again, I went in, my husband and I, with a mindset of we're going to get what we want. Because remember, initially we were going to buy it. That was the whole point. But after we realized it was on the warranty, then we thought, okay, you get a little, and I used the leverage that I had, the information that I had. And so when you want something, understand that it flows from, you are the source. And what comes out is confidence and assertiveness and that energy. I did well with the initial person that handled the warranty, but after she was being a little stubborn and not giving me what we wanted, I said, well, I'm going to have to escalate this. And I just hung up and got a hold of excuse me for a second. Yeah. Got a hold of, someone above her, store manager, or claims manager and so forth. And then again, the relationship went so well. Why? Because I'm expending energy. It is energy. I'm expending energy. I'm thinking in terms of, it's energy. And I'm like, you're this big organization and you want to nickel and dime us, is like, that's almost embarrassing that you would even think that way. And I'm like, consider yourself. You're a consumer. The thing is that I am a great negotiator, and I know that. I'm a good negotiator, and I know that. And it turned out in our favor. So you don't have to think about the money. Think about what you want, what you wish to accomplish. The same goes for everything, for your health. For those of you that may have some kind of health impediment or something, don't, work with what you have right now. So if you are limited in mobility or sight or whatever, do what you can right now to make things good for you. And then you continue to know that, again, you are sourcing out your health. You are the source of your health. You are the source of perfect health. You are the source from which your health flows. And don't wait until things are perfect. Use what you have now. If you're limited in your mobility, try to move and to walk and to do whatever you can now. And if it's going in the pool and moving and strengthening your legs or whatever, your back, try to do it now. But you have to train your subconscious. Send the information, the new programming in your mind, that it flows from within, that you are sourcing the flow of your health. You are sourcing it. I am the source of my health. I am the source of my wealth. I am the source of my peace. I am the source of my happiness. I don't wait for things to happen to make me happy. I don't wait for things to be calm for me to be peaceful. I am so consciously aware and know that it sources from me. It sources from me. And for those of you that are mindset that are guided by doctrine and so forth, it's, when you know the truth that's within, that is what sets you free. But not only that, when you know that, when you seek the truth of you, of how this works, all the things that you are mindful that you need, that you want, that you desire, those things shall be added on to you. When I say added, that means come to light. It will manifest. It will become a reality. All the things that you have desire, want of, will be added onto you. It will be added onto you. You just have to know how to work it. But first of all, you have to know and understand. And it's not convince yourself. If you want to use that term, that's fine. But it's know and understand that you are the source. Why would it be difficult for you to even acknowledge that? to think that, to believe that, to stand in that truth, to stand in that understanding that you are the source. I know this is difficult for some people. Well, if this is difficult for you and you're having some people take offense to that, because people that think of things coming from the outside in, people don't. It's hard to even fathom that you can source the things that you desire. But I'm talking to you that are bodacious. You are unapologetically bodacious, and perhaps you hadn't heard of that concept, of that truth, but now that you hear it, you can, and you can't unhear it. It's already there. It's already there. You are the source. And when you say those two words, you've heard that before. When you say I am, when you use those two words, that's why people that shrink themselves in their behavior, their attitude, the patterns of their life, their words, whatever. I can't subscribe to that. I can't subscribe to that. Why? Because it goes against my frequency. I think abundance, and I think prosperity, and I think, whatever it is that I desire, if you were to get into my mind, you would explode, because the things that I have, it's not like it's coming to me. I already have it. It's too late to tell me no. It's too late to say no. Because when you program your subconscious mind that way, and you begin to live the sensation, the part, the experience, you begin to live it, it's a done deal. It is a done deal. It is a done deal. It's already happened. It's already happened, and it's taking shape. And I don't. It's like people that say affirmations. If that works for you, that's great. I don't say affirmations because. My friend. So, you don't. If affirmations work for you, that's okay. I am past affirmation, because I know how this works. Not only do I know how this works, my friend, I've seen it work in my life. I've been doing this for the longest time. And you get into a mode where you're relaxed, and you know that you will never lack. And don't get me wrong, I've been on the other side. Years ago, I've been on the other side. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about this because years ago, I know when I lost my job and lost everything, and it was a challenging situation, but I had good friends, so I was never like without a I was never like in the streets or living out of my car. That's not my experience, but I didn't have a car and so forth, but then I had good friends. And so I shared with my friend a while back, and I said, I don't have a story. I don't have that like before and after and this and that. And then they said, yes, you do. And then they started reminding me of the difficult times that I had and so forth. And then I pondered on that, and I said, why is that not a big thing in my life? Why is that not a big story? I mean, do I go through every details that, where it came down? I didn't have any money. I didn't have a car. And I would have to move from my from my apartment and all of that. Why? For me, and that's, I give myself permission not to go down that road. And yeah, some people may say, well, that could help someone. Well, what I share now, because that to me was not like a big deal, simply because I was never in the dumps. I was never depressed. I was never anxious. I was never afraid or worried. No, I just knew, you need to get another job, and quickly, fast. In the meantime, I had friends, that I would take them to work in their car and then go to, by then I had found another job, and then go work, and then I'll pick them up. So that to me wasn't something for me to spend time dwelling on, because even though it was a season of scarcity, I wasn't down in the dumps. So why should I, and I thought, wow, yeah, you can do selective, share stories of your own life, but I tell you, yeah, I lost my job, I lost my car, I was about to lose my apartment, which I did, but I had friends. I was never like, some people have had some very serious trials and tribulation and talk about tests. I never said it was a test. I never said I needed a breakthrough. I didn't need a breakthrough. I needed a job. And I went out and got a new job. Wasn't paying enough, but I just knew that I needed an income. And it was enough to do the things that I needed based on where I was at that time. I think in terms of solution, and I don't make things so sad and gory. Why? Because I want to be happy all the time. And even if I am facing a situation, I want to be upbeat. Because that's where my calm and peace comes in. And now I realize that it flows from me. I don't know what I would have named it back then, but my attitude, I guess, being positive and optimistic and hopeful, and knowing that this is just a temporary situation, a season of my life. It's just a season. Just a season. So you can choose where you go. There are people that go through situations where they have trauma and they need healing. And, after a while, you have to come out of that. You have to decide. A lot of it has to do with a decision. It's a decision that you make. And so in that person's mind, I should go back and rehash and talk about this. It wasn't like a dark period no, it never was. It never was. Losing your job, that's not dark. You just lost your job. You just find another job. But if I follow that mindset, then I would harp on that. And I've got so many other good things to share. It's like when I met my husband, I was like not in a good place. Not in a good place, meaning, I wasn't operating on all cylinders, my full potential. And he didn't see that. He saw a successful professional woman. I may have been going through a curvy highway, but he just knew that I was a successful professional woman. And I was going through that same situation. Didn't have a job. And I think by then, did I have a job? I don't think I did. Anyway, but he didn't see that. And you know what? I didn't go through all of that telling him things. And no, that was not. When you know who you are and you know your worth, your value, that's your focus, because it doesn't determine your standard, and it doesn't prevent you from setting boundaries. Just because you're in a situation of challenge doesn't prevent you from setting boundaries, and it doesn't prevent you from setting standards, from having your standards. And he saw that. I wasn't trying to pretend. No, he knew that I had a situation and whatever, but that did not define me. And where you are now should not define you. If you're going through a situation that you challenge whatever that you need to resolve, figure out, because nothing is here to stay. It won't stay forever. But you're in all cases, you have to make a decision. And that's all it is. You make a decision. I will not go through this this way, and I will not submit myself to this, and I will not submit myself to that. And you just go through your life that way. You just go through your life knowing that it flows from you. Your prosperity, your abundance, your peace, your happiness, contentment, joy, everything that you want, need, desire, your calmness, your whatever it is. And if it's material things, that is okay too. If you're in need of a car, or if you simply want a new car, if that's what you want, then know that it comes from within. It flows. You are the source. You are the source of your prosperity, your abundance, your peace. And if you want a new car, decide, what kind of car do I want? What type of car do I want? You decide. Go online, and then you get a picture of it. And if there's a dealer that's close, you go to the dealer and you test drive the car, whatever you're comfortable with. Whatever you're comfortable with. You go and you test drive that car, and you just feed your mind with it. You just feed your subconscious. Learn about that car. You'll start seeing that car over and over and over and over again. Why? Because you've made a decision. It is up to you, my friend, but know one thing. It emanates. It comes from within. You are the source of abundance. You are the source of your prosperity. You are the source of your peace. You are the source of your happiness. You are the source of your joy. You are the source of contentment. You are the source of everything you need, want, or desire. It's not coming from the outside in, it emanates from the inside out. That's why you are lacking absolutely nothing. I'm going to leave you with that, my friend, so that you can sup on that. That's good stuff. Train your subconscious mind to reprogram it with the things that you desire. Every Thursday, we have a date right here, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you can't meet me here, you see these icons over here? LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. You can pick up the feed 24/7 and watch the show. You can also drop me a note. I am a life coach, and you can drop me a note at info@thecynthialinoxshow.com, and I'll get back with you. If you have any questions, if you want me to share anything in particular, answer any questions, I will be more than happy to do that. In the meantime, I want you to have a fantastic weekend. Whatever it is that you choose to do, make sure that that you get pleasure out of it. Just do the things that you want to do, and do the things that you want to do, and enjoy life to the fullest. It's all on you, my friend. Hasta la vista. Hasta la próxima. Au revoir. Ciao. I will see you next week. Same time, same place.